Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am JayLee. This is JLeesCorner. This is my review for Ready to Love, Season 3, Episode 6. Girl, the cutthroat of it all, okay? It is 4 a.m. Friday night, Saturday morning, and I'm like, let me get this done tonight so y'all can watch it in the morning while I'm still sleeping or whatever. Okay, so we know to subscribe to my channel to become a whole JayBird, to relax, to relate, to release, to do yourself and everyone around you, okay? To inhale and to exhale, to follow me on IG and on Twitter at J_Lees_Corner. And all that goodness and stuff. Let's move on past that, okay? So there was a few dates and meet with friends that went on this particular episode on Ready to Love. We see Jay had a little conversation with Simone. You know, he was still feeling the kind of way with Simone going to Joy about seeing him go in the room with Winter. So he felt some kind of way. And, you know, Simone, apologized for how she handled that or whatever. And he said, you know what? I forgive you. Okay, I accept your apology. You know what I'm saying? I forgive you and your messiness. He said it in a nice way. Not like I said, whatever. But he does tell us that he knows now that he would not want to continue to date her. He's not going to keep trying to get with her. She just shot herself in the foot, okay? So we then see the ladies, of course, their friends are there this episode. And so they have to pick which guy they want their friend to meet up with to see if they're a good match or whatever. So we do see a cousin and Naya and Chris, okay? And, honey, poor Chris, and I don't mean poet, girl. Chris, he did good at first. Okay, we know him and Naya have been, really, really good this whole season, and we know they were kind of the only two people who we felt like were a couple, okay? And so cousin Kiki come to chit chat or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And Chris brings up how he does like to go to church because he's actually an ordained deacon in the church or whatever. So the cousin, like that. The cousin then asked, like, what are your thoughts on finances or whatever? Now, finances, we know, is always sometimes a difficult conversation because people have to discuss either how much money they make or how they like to go about splitting up the household bills and whatnot, okay? And so Chris said, you know what I'm saying, I feel like, we could, split the mortgage, so that I can cover, like, cable and internet and the water bill, maybe she pay the car insurance, whatever, but we can be partners in this or whatever, because I know that she makes more money than I do because there's no money in radio. I do radio for the love of it, okay? And so I have no problem falling back and letting her shine if that has to happen. Now, I was like, well, okay, and that is his stance on it. Now, the minute he said that, Naya was like, say what now? I'm saying, is that what you want to do? And she brings up how she does not want to get into a relationship where she feels as if she's having to worry about the finances and also keeping a baby to term. Because again, she's brought up before how she's had 4 miscarriages. It's like, I don't want to have to worry about, carrying a baby and, being the bread earner of the family. So Naya asked him, but what do you look towards, forward to like giving to the household and your wife once you marry? And he then said, well, I feel like my role is to fill in and step in and be in whatever gaps that we have, you know what I'm saying? That's where I step in. And because again, it's a partnership, you know what I'm saying? It's a partnership. And she feel like, well, a man's role is to lead, and how can a leader be the one trying to step in and fill in the gaps? Like, he should be the one leading, you know what I'm saying? And not the one stepping in. I'm like, girl. And this kind of, it went down here from there. And Chris said, like, from that moment, I could feel the whole vibe that me and her had. Like, I just felt it change or whatever. And so he then leaves the date to let the two ladies chit and chat. And I can't believe he asked to split the mortgage. That's a man's A man's supposed to do that, you know what I'm saying? Now the cousin, like, you moving too fast, you stressing about something, like you calm it on down, calm it on down. Like, you make your own money, so like, why are you stressing about money right now? And I think that was Chris's point. Like, she already has money, so it's not as if she is looking for someone to cover what she doesn't make. It's weird, but it's like a thing to where that's why people are supposed to have multiple conversations about money and gender roles and all of that. And this was one conversation based on one question, and you can tell the whole vibe changed and whatnot. Okay, now we then see Brian meets up with Alex and her friend Tanisha. Tanisha's her name. And he talked about his daughter who's 3. Okay, how he, having her changed him, how he missing him. And the mama was not in a relationship or whatever, how he has cheated in the past as well, but he's grown this and grown that or whatever. And I feel like his answers were spot on, vague, but also a little bit too perfect or whatever. It was like he was answering the questions, and I don't think he was lying, but I feel like he may have a Rolodex of explanations for stuff that goes on in his life. Like, I have an explanation about my daughter, I have an explanation about why I cheated, and because he said, I was out there being young, wild, and free. She's like, it was only 3 years ago, so how young were you? I'm like, well, 3 years ago was not a lot of time, but at the same time, 3 years ago, having a kid can change a person to calm the fuck down when they know they doing too much or whatever. But again, Brian then leaves to let the women chit and chat or whatever, and the friends say, I don't really see him for you. You know what I'm saying? I feel like what was crazy was the friend said, I feel like you don't really like him. Like, you gave me a vibe that you don't really like him. And it's like you forcing it, like it's an infatuation with him more than an actual connection or an attraction. It's like, you know what? I have to figure out if I like him or not. I'm like, please do. And I feel like I don't want it to be to where it's an issue where she's rethinking things because of what went on between him and Alicia. Do not let Alicia's single ass get into your business. Now, I know people was in my comment section saying, I guess since then Alicia has not had a kid. Oh, okay. Don't care. Can't on the show no more. Anyway, we then see Chris. Chris at the pool chit-chatting with Joy, Alex, and Simone or whatever. He brings up how, he think he messed things up with Naya, with the conversation about splitting the bills. He's like, I think I may have misspoken. I did not really explain myself, all the way out. You know what I'm saying? I know a man is supposed to take care of the household, but then when they asked him, like, what would he say now? He said, well, I would say, like, well, yeah, I can cover the mortgage, and maybe she can pay the light bill. And they're like, no, you can't, lead with you paying something and her paying whatever else. That's still a way of splitting the bills. Look, it was weird. Okay, we then find out that him and Joy have known each other for about 5 years, and he brings up how Joy has always given him really, really great advice. And Joy said, like, I feel like if a woman can stay at home and not have a job, a man should be able to do the same thing when he's also at home, keeping the home in order. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And my thing is, I don't think Chris was saying if Naya works and brings home the most money that he'll be a stay-at-home dad. I think he still wants to work in radio and maybe not make that much money or whatever. But I still feel like that's a conversation you can have. You can't have one conversation about money and then let that be that. Unless the dude say, like, I ain't paying for shit. Now, at that point, you know what? We may not need to talk anymore. But if his thing is, if his point was, which is what Chris said, like, it's 50-50, it's a partnership, I don't see anything wrong with that in my opinion. Because my thing is, if y'all splitting stuff, all the money going in, and this is once you're, not when you're dating, this is when you're married. When you're married, I do feel like you both should be contributing in one way or the other. Even if the man's whole check goes to paying the rent or the mortgage or the leasing or whatever you're doing or whatever, and he's also paying the household bills. If you buy all the groceries, what is wrong with that? You know what I'm saying? I feel like why would anyone feel as if the man should pay everything and my money should be my money? I'm like, that's not fair. It's just weird or whatnot. Okay. Now we then see a whole little foursome date. Okay. We see these four: Jay, Joy, Edwin, and then Winter. And they have a little foursome date with Joy's friend and Winter's friend, who names I don't know, and whose pictures I did not get and whatnot. Okay. Now, this date seemed boring to me because I felt like they were asking more questions to Jay at first. They asked, one little thing to Edwin. The date was kind of focused on Joy because Joy is both Edwin's and Jay's number one. I would not have wanted to go on a double date. I would not have. I would prefer to have my own date, to have my friends ask their own questions or whatnot. But I guess it was what it was. As someone posted on Twitter, because it's only so much, time in the day, it's only so much they can show in an hour show, a lot of stuff is cut down. So it also makes sense to do a foursome date to get that on the show and whatnot. So Winter's friend asked, Jay, well, what did Joy have that Winter does not have? No, wait, who else? No, I think Winter's friend asked that. What does Joy have that Winter does not have? And Jay was like, I think they're both two great, amazing women, but they're just different. You know what I'm saying? And this and that and this. It was just like they different. It's not as if one has something the other one does not. Joy friend then backs it up and said, well, who's your top pick then, Jay? And Jay then says, well, I had a connection with Joy first. I guess she's my first pick. And so that made Winter feel like, well, I don't like being felt like I'm a second choice. But then when they asked Edwin some stuff or whatever, even though I felt like he said, he likes Winter and he had a connection with her, I still feel like he didn't really push it on through that Winter was his number one. Now, Simone was all on Twitter, honey, saying that they cut this up and that supposedly Edwin yelled at Winter and it made Winter cry and Winter was upset. They didn't show any of that. They didn't show any of that. So I'm like, I think if that happened and they didn't show, they're stupid. But again, that's what Simone said on Twitter. Girl, so I don't be telling everything, but I'm gonna leave that be. So that date with that day, we're gonna leave that be. Again, I felt like I would not have had a whole foursome date because I felt like the foursome date was so focused on Joy and Jay and less on Edwin or Winter. Okay. Anyway, we then see Nia has a little chit chat with Edwin. Okay, she just snuck off, had a little chit chat conversation because again, Nia is not too happy with Chris saying that he wants to split bills and stuff or whatever. And so she tells him, I had a date with Chris and Chris said this and this and this or whatever. So what would you say if someone asked you about, the finances in the household? And Edwin said, when I'm ready, he says, if I'm ready to marry somebody, I would want to be able to financially handle everything. And oh my God, his answer soothed me within a few minutes. I'm saying I need something solid because I want to have babies. And I'm like, but he hasn't shown you shit. He just told you something he knew you wanted to hear. And I'm not saying that in a diss to Edwin. What I'm saying is the fact that one sentence out of Edwin's mouth now has you want to, be with him because he didn't told you, oh yeah, I would love to be able to financially carry the load of of the whole household. But has he told you that's what he will do? No, I feel like Chris's answer was his honest answer about his finances or whatever. And the fact that she's believing Edwin at face value, it speaks volumes to her character, if you ask me or whatever. She brings up how if she had to choose right now between Edwin and Chris, she would choose Edwin. Even though all season she's been choosing Chris, all season she's had this clear connection with Chris. I'm like, ooh, Lord Jesus or whatever. So, and I also feel like Naya wanting to pick Edwin based on him saying he wants to carry the money load, it could be the reason she's single, because she's looking for somebody to financially support her and not someone who will be there for her heart. Okay, you can't want someone based on how much money they can bring to the table, because if that money's gone and y'all don't have no connection or whatever, then that's why you single. Leave that there, whatever. And not only that, there's a difference between finding someone who was financially responsible enough to handle stuff versus finding somebody who has money and who just, oh, I ain't gotta worry about paying anything. Yeah, be an asshole. Like, it's a whole difference of it. I'm gonna leave that bit, whatever. So she does ask him, what do I need to do to cater to you? He was like, I'm kind of, obsessed with, or I want to get, more connected with self-care and stop feeling like I have to do it all myself. I'm like, the fact that he just said that could mean he don't want to pay all the bills himself. But she's like, I can, that's when somebody come in and rub your back and rub your feet. And I'm like, and she starts massaging his neck, massaging his, I'm looking like Night is up here and completely flipped. Girl. And Edwin says, like, I'm surprised that Naya has flipped away from liking Chris so fast. It's noticeable, and it makes people feel as if, is she really ready to love if she can flip so quick when she's been so focused on one person the whole time? And even her saying last week that no one else is attracted or connected to her except Chris. Girl. So we do see everyone sitting around chit-chatting, eating or whatever, and we see Chris goes up to try to talk to Naya and tell her how he kind of misspoke and now he wants to kind of clear up his comments about the whole money thing or whatever. And he's like, I don't want you to feel as if I want to split all the bills like we roommates. You know what I'm saying? But I still want us to have a conversation about it. But she's like, oh, it's okay that you feel how you feel or whatever. And Chris is like, oh, okay. But he like, I can feel just the shifts in the energy between me and her, and it is not the same anymore or whatever. And then Naya says, I want to have 35,000 more conversations with Edwin. I'm looking like, so you gonna just forget? Okay. Now we then see Rashid and Adriana on a little date thing with her friend Morgan. And he brings up how, he has a 7-year-old son. He admits, he was kind of the one to blame for his divorce because he wasn't being honest about things back then, because he didn't feel like arguing about things or whatever. So he's learned that he wants a partner he can share things with. He says, I also wanted to be somebody who I'm not just like physically attracted to, because again, when attractions fade, what else did you have? It was a good date conversation or whatever. I get that. I like how he was able to own that he had failures before, and he was, he knew he was to blame for it, and he's hopefully grown from that. And even seeing him talk and watching Adriana look at him while he talks, she do look like she likes him. Like, she looked completely interested. It's a way that a woman looks at a man when she's like, oh, I like him. I want to hear him talk. It was cute or whatever. And he leaves or whatever to give him time to chit chat. And the friend even said, I do feel like he likes you and you like him. Like, I like him for you. And then when Adriana brings up Calfani, and he's chocolate with muscles. She describes him physically. And the friend then said, well, you know what? You didn't tell me anything about how he makes you feel or any, like, nothing except how he looks. You're not here to find lust. And I'm looking like, let her know, friend. Let her ask, no, don't you up lusting at the Calfani and whatnot. Okay, we then see another little, foursome date. We see Denise, who brought both Calfani and Anthony, to meet her friend. I don't know her name. Terry. her friend Terry or whatever. And friend asked Anthony if he ever cheated. He said, well, when I was younger, I did that or whatever. I feel like once you get to a certain age, to ask someone, have you ever cheated, is a childish question, because once you in your upper 30s or your 40s, there's a good chance both people have either been cheated on or who have cheated. I think a better question is, what is your loyalty now to who you're with? Are you loyal now? If you've cheated in the past, we get that. But what is your loyalty status now? You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to judge anybody based on what they did when they were 25, but they're now 42. You know what I'm saying? I can't, if you cheated when you was in your 20s, I don't really care as long as you're not cheating in your 40s or whatever. And she then asked them, I think she asked them, was they controlling or something? Because they both say how they're kind of not controlling. And Anthony brings up how he wants to, have a whole partnership or whatever. Cal finally kind of said the exact same thing. He just adds on that he's trying to break generational curses or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's cool or whatever. But I'm like, I do feel like Calfani and Anthony are two coins in the same piggy bank. And I'm like, it's like having two nickels, or just having a nickel and a dime, or if you got two nickels and a dime, you know what I'm saying? They both equal 10 cents. And that's how I look at, they both equal 10 cents. There's just one of them is a two nickels and one of them is just a dime. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing or whatnot. Okay. The friend then brings about, I think they're both nice or whatever, but I feel like Calfani is more for you. You know what I'm saying? Oh, girl, he got me. I think I love him. We know Denise loves Calfani, but I feel like, is she moving too fast? Like, can you really, I think I love him. Girl, no, I don't. So we then see all the ladies get together, okay? Because one person has to go home, okay? Now, they all have to agree, one way or the other, either who they like, who they don't like, or whatever. Winter brings, no, they all have to talk about the dates or whatever. And Winter brings up how her friend was not impressed with Jay or Edwin, because the friend felt like Jay was too much. He came off like he was trying to sell himself, and she didn't like that. And for Edwin mentioned how his support system is his mom and his sisters or whatever. And so the friend felt like, his sisters and his mom could have boundary issues within relationship things. And that could be a reason why Edwin is single, because he has these overbearing sisters and mother. And I'm like, that can happen. Okay. Now, Joy said her friend didn't like Jay, but she did prefer Edwin for Joy. Denise brings up how her friend preferred Calfani over Anthony or whatever. Adriana said, my friend love her. And her look that Denise was like, they don't like each other. And I think that's dumb, because, girl, they don't like each other. And so because of that reason, I do feel like Adriana is trying to persuade Calfani to get on her side just to piss off Denise. I do think she likes Rashid. I also feel as if she just doesn't like Denise too. So if I can kill two birds with one stone, then I can get Rashid under my belt, but I also can make Calfani look at me, which it takes attention off of you. Girl. Naya. Tommy say, so who you feeling? Nobody. He's like, what? But what about you and Chris? Oh, I was never, I was never all in with Chris. I'm like, is she on a backtracking trip? She has to be on a backpacking, pussy popping on the handstand. Because I'm like, we have seen you for the first 5 episodes be connected to Chris. Like, we all seen it. But our own 2 and 4 eyes, and they was like, did she think we know? Did she think we wasn't here? Like, I'm like, what is she doing or whatever? Tommy like, but you are you sure? I was just obliged and his interest in me. I'm looking like Naya flipped. Like, the attitude and the snootiness and the way that she just flipped on Chris says so much about why she's single, because it's like she's looking for the wrong thing. She's focusing on the wrong thing, and she completely stopped acknowledging her attraction and her connection to a man who was a good dude so far based on one conversation. And anyone who ends things based on one conversation is bad at communication, because again, you didn't even really communicate with him. It was one conversation and you never went back to see, okay, is that really how you feel? Because if not, you know what I'm saying, we gotta, she didn't do that. So that we see why she's single. Whatever. And so when Simone then tried to say, he felt really bad about not being clear with his stance on that, she cut, I don't care, whatever. And I'm like, why you cut her off? Okay. And then Alex brings up how, well, it's not fair that she's acting this way because Chris focused all his energy on Naya, and up until this point, Naya had focused all her energy on Chris. So it was unfair for Chris to not get to know anybody else based on him thinking him and Naya had this connection. And then the minute he said something she didn't like, she cut him off. But I also feel as if that's Chris' fault. Chris should not have put all his, you can't tell somebody to not put their eggs in one basket if they feel a connection, because that's what the show is about. But I think it's a disservice that she just kind of throwing him away and acting as if I wasn't dating him, I wasn't talking to him, he liked me, that was on him. I'm looking like, that's not true, girl. Anyway, Alex brings up how her friend felt like Alex was guarded with Brian, and so she felt as if it was like a true attraction, and how the friend felt like she was more infatuated with Brian than really liking Brian, so that's figured out whatever. And then Joy brings up how, well, I don't like Brian at all because I'm seeing of what happened with him and Alicia gone. Okay, she gone somewhere else to get whoever else's money, leave her be. Like, why would you not like Brian? Joy, you should focus on Edwin and Jay. Why do you care about Brian? Alicia has fucked up Brian's whole life. Anyway, we then see that there is a 2-person elimination. Okay, it's between Chris and Brian. Now, again, on Twitter, Simone has brought up how there was actually 3 men up, and it was supposed to be Brian, Chris, and also Edwin, because because Winter told the ladies how he yelled at her and she was crying, so they put him up as well, but clearly production did not show that, and he stayed. So does it really matter? So Joy meets with Chris and Denise meets with Brian. You know what I'm saying? And Chris brings up, like, I was sure, felt this shift with Naya, and it's so unfortunate. And you can see how he's like sad. You know what I'm saying? He's like, damn, I had this and now I know it's gone, because again, I know things are different or whatever. And I tried to talk to her after, but you know what I'm saying, I don't even think she heard me or that she was really listening to me. You know what I'm saying? And Joy brings up, like, I know you, and I could see in your eyes that you care for her and you were making sure that she knew it this whole time until this happened. Now with Brian, Denise, and Denise was girl using her I don't want to say ghetto, but her like B girl, you know what I'm saying, runaway girl voice or whatnot. And you know what I'm saying, Denise tells him like he needs to be more straightforward. You know what I'm saying, he needs to be better at communicating, and he needs to make sure the ladies can trust his actions or whatnot, because people still don't know if they can trust you because of the whole Alicia situation. I'm like, why y'all bringing up Alicia? She is gone. He ain't did anything since she left, so why do y'all keep bringing that shit up? I'm gonna leave that be. Anyway, she brings up how all the ladies talked or whatever, and you, Brian, are okay, you're gonna stay. So we then find out that means Chris went home, and it's really fucked up because he went home solely because he only had a connection, with Naya, and now she acting as if she don't know him, okay? And it's fucked up. It's completely fucked up. And I feel like next week, either Naya or Alex is going to go home. So I think Alex. Yes, either Naya or Alex will go home next week. I don't think it'll be Denise, but if it's a top 3, it probably would be Denise, Alex, and Naya. Naya for sure, because I don't think Edwin is going to choose her. I think Edwin is not going to like how she dismissed Chris based on a conversation. So I think Naya has really shot herself in the foot. And so she can go head on somewhere else or whatever. Anyway, that was the whole thing. It's now 4:30 in the morning and I'm done. Peace.